Hello and welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga. In this video, I'm excited to share with you my manga haul for the month of September of over 30 volumes, which to me, I'm like, oh, we're finally getting it down a little bit, which is great. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and share with you my overall thoughts on each manga volume that I read, and I'd love to know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on these manga? What did you pick up for this past month, as it's great to talk about in a community together as we share different thoughts and different things that we're reading, and it's really cool to see. I've noticed other people will pick up things based on your comments. So please comment below and let us know what you're either reading or picked up. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start with ongoing or missing titles that I received from Viz Media. And the first thing I end up picking up is Call of the Night Volume 17. I absolutely love the series. I did a review on it. This is about this boy with insomnia who just cannot sleep, and he ends up meeting this girl who's a vampire. And the series isn't necessarily a vampire series per se, but it's really just talking about what is love, what is life, and it's kind of more of a slice of life with some that shown action sequences here and there, but really good series. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Now it's finished in Japan and on the Viz Media app, but I'm still following along here. There's 20 volumes total. Great series, absolutely love it. Up next, speaking of series that's almost over, the next I picked up is Help. This is volume 11. There's only one more volume left, and I actually thought the battle is going to be finished in this one, but it is not. It's going to continue over to the last volume, so I'm excited to find out how the epic conclusion happens in the series. This originally follows where the Demon King has been destroyed by the humans, and a new Demon King needs to come up into power, and it just so happens that a human named Help decides to try a shot to see if he can now be ruler over the demons. Definitely changes way after that, seeing the humans and demons. Are they against each other? Are they friends? Are they foe? It's been a very interesting, just good battle action with some humor sprinkled throughout, so I've thoroughly enjoyed Help, and with only one more volume, I gotta say, with 12 volumes total, this has definitely been worth the journey. Alright, next up, if you ask Scott, out of this whole haul, what was your #1 title that you received? It has to be Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Volume 11. I absolutely got emotional while reading this volume here. This is so phenomenal. I know the anime took off like a storm, so if you're looking for a good anime or a good manga that's different, this is one you've got to check out, as you follow this hero party that actually, they defeated the Demon King, and the Demon King is no more, and you're following this girl, this elf, who, even though everyone else has aged, because elves kind of, can live for thousands of years, everything has aged around her, but she hasn't, and you're following her on her journey of seeing what life is like now and her perspective, and as she reflects back on the journey she had, not really realizing how wonderful that friendship she had with those other characters years ago. So you're following her on a new journey, and man, it has action, it has lore, it has good storytelling elements that makes you think, some great boss battles as they're fighting new demons. Phenomenal series. Cannot recommend this enough. This is one of the best ongoing series currently available. And next I picked up is Yona of the Dawn. This is volume 42. Now, they did announce this series is nearing its conclusion. This is actually one of my daughter's absolutely favorite shoujo series, and I asked her what she think, and she's like, I love it. This was so good. Her only complaint is that we're waiting too long in between each volume. And last I picked up is Mashal, Magic and Muscles. Now, in this series you follow this guy. It's almost like a Harry Potter meets I gotta say, like One Punch Man, and just this hilarity here. You're seeing him go through this academy. Now, I have not fully read this series. There is one volume left, and I figured, as we had that video where I'm like, hey, I don't want to buy as much. I want to get my backlog. Because this was so near the conclusion, I decided to go ahead and let's pick it up. There's only one more volume, and then we'll just read the whole thing entirety, and I'll give you a review to let you know my overall thoughts on the series. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from Yen Press, and I only got one, and that is volume 3 of the new arc of Higurashi, When They Cried. Now, absolutely love Higurashi. It is definitely a horror series, not for the faint of heart. Definitely not for kids, but such a good story, so intriguing. I actually did a review on the entire series if you'd like to know more of my thoughts on this epic story. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I received from KODANSHA, and the first is actually the last volume in Bakugan Monogatari Number 22. Now, this is from that famous artist, Oh Great. Now, I realize I am not for his artwork. It is just too much for me, too dark, too risque. And so I've decided with the series, now we have the whole thing. I do want to finish the story and then give some over my thoughts. The reason why I got this is because I know the light novel itself is very, very popular, has great dialogue, and because I wanted to check this out. I just did not realize how risque this series would be, and you know, that's my fault on seeing a deal and buying a bunch at once before, where I should have just read some of the panels beforehand, and I quickly realized, man, this probably is not for me, but we dived too much in. I said, let's just complete it, get the review out of the way, and we'll go from there. Next up, I picked up one of my favorite ongoing series, and it's a sports series as well, and that is Blue Lock Volume 14. This story just continues to get better and better, as it starts off with this battle royale of 100 strikers in Japan, and they're battling out to see who's going to make the Japanese team. So in this story, as you follow people, they're getting eliminated over and over. A battle royale in the sense that they're not being killed, but they are being eliminated from the tournament. Just so good. I didn't really know much about soccer, or let's say football, and I am just thoroughly enjoying it now after reading the series. There's something to say about a series that makes you care about a sport that you didn't know nothing about once you've read the series itself. It has you at the edge of your seat. It has educational. Unfortunately, it's not for kids just because of language. If they did not have that language, I would highly recommend this to teenagers. But because of some of those F-bombs they drop in here and there, it's definitely going to be for an older audience, but it is a great series. And last, from KODANSHA, I got the next 2-in-1 volume, volume 3 of Initial D. This is a racing series. It is an old school series where we never got the full publication when Tokyo Pop went under. KODANSHA didn't choose to go ahead and reprint it to finish it, and which I'm glad now that KODANSHA has brought this back. If there's hope for this, there's hope for us all with so many other series that we'd love to see come back, that KODANSHA owns the rights to, and they've given us digitally but not physically for whatever reason. So if you'd like them to do more, I'd recommend getting Initial D to show them that yes, we do want these older series, which is a lot on them because this one has over 40 volumes. So for them to say, hey, we're willing to commit to this, I'm willing to commit to them and go ahead and grab the series. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far with the racing. I'm at the edge of my seat trying to find out what's going to happen next, and just his love for the cars, his love for racing. So if you're looking for a racing series, this is one I'd highly recommend checking out. Let's go ahead and now move on to ongoing or missing titles that I receive from smaller publishers. And my first is My Love Story Level 99.9. Now, this series is about this girl. She only plays video games because there's this boy who plays it that she likes, and they're dating together, and then that boy ends up dumping her, and she ends up staying on this online game anyways, and then she ends up meeting this other guy who's actually really kind, and even though he doesn't really want to have much to do with her, they keep running into each other, and she's part of their guild. They're now meeting up in real life with other people. So if you like that type of trope, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. There's many laugh out loud moments because way in my past, I used to play a lot of RPGs, and I even played a massive online multiplayer game back in my day, and then I realized I'll spend way too much time on it, so I stopped. But if that tickles your fancy, if you're looking for a romantic comedy type of series that has to do with adults, not high school antics, this is one I'd recommend checking out. Speaking of adult rom-com stories, the next one I picked up is volume 3 of Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, which, you know, wouldn't be for kids because they're smoking cigarettes, but they're adults, and he's a middle-aged salary man who ends up getting his life is just so hard, and just getting this smile of this girl from the supermarket is just all that makes up his day and helps him feel better. So he goes this one supermarket all the time to get stuff, and then he's always hoping that this lovely girl will be the one that he can see and smile and just make his night. So he ends up not realizing that there's this other girl instead that he's been smoking behind the supermarket with, not realizing it's the same girl that's just smiling at the counter, and you're seeing them as their romance blossoms together. There's a bunch of comedy elements sprinkled throughout, so I thoroughly enjoy this. Again, if you're looking for a series that doesn't have high school antics, but you're seeing just adults trying to figure life together, and then do they like each other, do they don't. This has been really, really good so far. Next I picked up also from Square Enix is the Apocrypha's Diaries. This is volume 12. I need to stop ordering the rest of these volumes because I have not been reading this series yet. Now I got this because so many people recommend it and say it's one of the best series they've ever read. So because I went and I picked up the series when most of them were on a sale, and I just picked up a couple of the extra volumes anyway. So with that, we will stop this until I have an opportunity to read this and probably say, yes, this is just as amazing as they say. Next up I picked up is from Dark Horse, Dark Volume 7. This is from the same author that gave us Dorohedoro, which in some ways I kind of like this more than Dorohedoro. I know. There's only 7 volumes so far, but it is a dark comedy. There's many laugh out loud moments. There's times where I'm laughing away I probably feel like I shouldn't laugh, as you're just seeing all this destruction happen to these bad guys, and in your main characters, they're seen as the bad guys attacking the good guys, but very, very funny as you're following this main character who is said that if someone can collect their bones, it grants any wish. So the main character is always trying to keep themselves safe as they don't want their bones taken from them, and people are trying to take them. They're fighting these light people. A very funny, very entertaining story. Definitely not for kids, especially because with the language. Definitely because of the violence, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this. It's just been so awesome. I love the artwork. She has some phenomenal artwork, just like in Dorohedoro. If you like that, I know you're going to love this series as well. Next I picked up from 7 Seas is Yakuza Fiancé Volume 8, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the series. I know the anime is about to come out, so which I think will actually skyrocket the series. This is more of an adult romantic comedy, but not in the sense that there's a mind games going on here, as they're in college and you're following this girl who her grandfather's in Yakuza, his grandfather's in Yakuza, and now they're together and he's determined to marry her. She doesn't really want anything to do with him, and just the sinisterness of the dialogue and what she does, just the manipulating. You feel like you're in the mob itself. She is not someone you want to tangle or mess with whatsoever. So there's times where she just has this charm, or it seems like she's kind of a ditz and you don't know what to do, more like an airhead, and then all of a sudden she just snaps and you are scared to death of her. So very entertaining, very interesting, funny moments, and you're just like, wow, what is going to happen next? I thoroughly enjoyed this. I actually wrote up a review for this, so I'm hoping in the near future to go ahead and film that video of the review, since we have the script typed out for it, but this has been really good. Next is probably one of my favorite ongoing Josei series, and that is Don't Call It Mystery. This is volume 9 and 10. Now this series, you're following this boy who is a school, and even he keeps falling into these situations where it's almost like a modern day Sherlock Holmes, where he has to be a detective even though he doesn't want to be a detective. He just wants to be a teacher. Very, very interesting. Now, the one thing I will say will probably deter some people away from the series is there is a ton of dialogue. Very, very heavy. It takes me a while to get through one of these, but I feel like I'm getting more of my money's worth with the dialogue, with the artwork, and with the panels. So I've been thoroughly enjoying this series. It makes you think. There's times even in the dialogue you're like, huh, I've never thought of life that way. So the main character, he loves when he shares his antics. Does annoy a lot of the adults, as they're like, who's asking for this person's perspective? And he gives random just thoughts and perspectives that no one would ever think before. And this one, I gotta say, is the best volume yet, just with the mystery currently going on, and it does get solved at the end of the volume, which is nice, because I think it's going to be a while now. I think we'll get another one soon for 11, 12, and then it'll maybe a year or two before we get the next 2-in-1 volume, just because we'll be caught up with Japan. But they wrapped this story up very nicely, and it was really intriguing. I was getting excited. I kept telling my wife, this is what's happening, and this was going with the murder, and maybe there is a murder, but there's not, and maybe there's a kidnapping, and this is how they're all connected. And I just thought it was very well done. So if that piques your interest at all, this is one you got to check out. All right, next is another series I thoroughly enjoy from 7 Seas. This is 2-in-1, and this is Tokyo Revengers Volume 23 and 24. and I think there's 31 total. Now the series is completely done. It was originally digitally from KODANSHA, and I know people just despise the ending so much they're like, I don't want the series whatsoever. Now I felt the volumes before this, the 2-in-1, I could see that being the original ending and how they wrap things up real nicely, except for one thing did not get wrapped up, and this is kind of that continue on to find out what's going to happen next. So I'm still at the edge of my seat. I'm very entertained, and I want to know what's going to happen next with the main character, as he's chosen to, and maybe in some way to think about it this way, he had almost a perfect ending, and he chooses to throw it away, knowing that one person didn't get saved, and this idea that he wants to save everyone. So the question has to be kind of like, are you willing to throw everything away just to save one person, even though now you've saved everybody else, with the risk that now everyone could not be saved because of that? So I'm thoroughly enjoying this series. I have not been spoiled. Thank you so much for not spoiling it. So I'm going to continue reading. I've really enjoyed Tokyo Revengers. Last from small publishers is from DEMPA, and that is Gambling Apocalypse. This is a volume 5, and man, this is thick. And actually was entertaining. This was my oldest pre-order over a year and a half ago from Right Stuf Anime. So even though Crunchyroll took them over, this actually came from technically Right Stuf Anime, and there's only supposed to be 1 volume left. Who knows when that'll be released? I think it's supposed to be sometime early next year. And then the story will be complete of this one, even though there's many other ones. I don't know if DEMPA will take those on or not, but wow, this is thick. Baby got back for sure with this one. So with that series, I'm waiting just to get the last volume, and then I'll just read it all together. Let's go ahead and now check out New to Me series from Viz Media, which is not only my first, but my last, and that is Last Quarter. This is from the same author that gave us Neighborhood Stories, Nana, and Paradise Kiss. Now this is a lovely, there's only 2 volumes total, and I gotta say, this was a fantastic first volume. I was sucked in the whole time. Originally, you're following this girl who ends up falling in love with this boy who's in a band, and she's just head over heels for him, and she has decided to leave everything and run away and be with him. Now on her way of waiting for him for the bus, all of a sudden she just disappears, like she's killed, and then she ends up waking up as sort of like this ghost in this mansion. Then you follow these junior hires that meet up, and they find her in this what's supposed to be an abandoned mansion, and they're trying to help figure out what happened to her, as now she's a ghost and she can't really remember everything but just bits and pieces, and they're trying to help her find this person and just bring her complete. Really good dialogue. Interesting. You know, it's October. It's kind of like we're going into October, so it's kind of like, let's say, a Halloween theme, or ooh, this would be one of those series I would recommend. And only 2 volumes total. I wish they just brought them both at once, but I'm very grateful that Viz brought this to us. I'm surprised this has not been physically published before. This is absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend. You're gonna want to check this one out. Okay, now let's go and check out New to Me from Yen Press. Now all these things were sent to me from our friends at Yen Press, and I actually did a video on all of them except for one, and I'll go and tell you that one out just because I literally just got it a few days ago. And that first one is Days with My Stepsister Volume 1. This is a romantic comedy, the manga based on the light novel. They're now siblings where they weren't before. Their parents ended up getting married, and he ends up where he only sees her as a sibling and she only sees him as a sibling, so there's not that weird romance at first, but then over time they end up becoming friends, and you wonder, are they going to be more than friends? And you know, honestly, I'll say I thought it was okay. I'm not really into that trope where we're siblings, even though we're step-siblings in high school, and maybe there will be something after that. Maybe it's more of a United States thing that's maybe a bit frowned upon and kind of weird, even though you're not blood-related, but, you know, and then, you know, I thought it was a pretty good on the romantic comedy side, and then at the very end, what happens, I was like, oh my. And so I almost, well, I thought it was okay. I'm very grateful again for Yen Press bringing this. If you are looking for a romantic comedy, I thought there was some good dialogue. There's good innocence in it. I gotta say the production of the paper is really well done. They did a great job with that. The artwork is really good. There is a lot to like, but I just can't get over that fact just a little bit. The siblings, and I don't know, I can't think of too many American movies that have been really popular of, you know, people who are now siblings due to step parents at teenage age and then end up falling for each other. I guess Clueless would be one, but you know, there's not too many of those, but Clueless was extremely popular, and you know, they made it where it didn't feel awkward and weird. I know they're not trying to make this feel awkward and weird. They're not trying to make it feel creepy. There is a lot of comedy aspects in it, but yeah, that's my thoughts on Days with My Stepsister. I'm probably not selling it as good as it is, but it's, I don't know how to say, it's not great, but it was not bad. So we'll leave it at that. The other ones, I'll go super quick because I have a video on that where you can see everything. We have The Legend of the Cursed Blood. This was phenomenal. I see this becoming extremely popular, especially when the anime comes out. You've got to check this one out. Pekin Habanero Josei series. My daughter absolutely loved it. I thought it was okay. There's another one I liked better, but we have that. From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, my hotshot disciples are all grown up and they won't leave me alone. That's a long title. This was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Spring Storm and Monster. I like this one better than Pink and Habanero, but you know, why not just get both? This was a good Josei series as well. Finding Camellia. I love Eyes Pressed Line. This was a great switcheroo series where you're following this girl who's forced to be a guy just because she looks like her sibling in the family. Very good. I love the color pages. I love the artwork. I'm always impressed with what Eyes Press is doing. You know, again, you can see more of my video on that. The next is When the Villainess Seduces the Main Hero, and this is extremely spicy Yuri series and was not for me. Way too much. 86, this is the light novel. This is side stories. If you love 86, I don't know why you're not picking this up. So good. Another great light novel is Victoria of Many Faces. This felt more like a novel instead of a light novel, and just the whole thing. I know it's only volume 1, so there'll be more, but I felt like this was a complete package within itself. If you're looking for a series of following this girl who's an assassin, as you know, as you retire as an assassin, one can't just retire as an assassin. Your past will come to haunt you. Next up is another light novel they sent, which was Even a Replica Can Fall in Love. This was a very emotional. I thought they did a really good job of this, as you're following this girl who has this replica that does all the work for her, and you're just seeing their relationship as a replica is now having her own thoughts and feelings, thinking for herself, and you know, maybe she doesn't want to be pushed around as much anymore from her human person that's over her. But very good. The whole, how they wrapped it with the ending is emotional, good tale. All right, next we have The Hero Syndrome. This is an isekai-ish series where you're following characters that they believe they're an isekai, but they're destroying the real world, and people in the real world see them as monsters, and you're seeing the two sides of each coin. I see this becoming extremely popular, especially if there's an anime adaptation. Next, we have The Riviera and the Land of Prayer, a Wanting Witch side story. There's only 3 volumes told in this. I thought this was really good, and I've never read The Wandering Witch, but there's so much lore and good storytelling in this. I thoroughly enjoyed this volume. Okay, next is this lovely entire collection of The Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant used to be arch enemies. Nemesis. Really good. This was funny. Some of the humor, this is definitely not for kids, it's adults, but overall I thought it was very entertaining. The funniness, you're following this magical girl that she kind of just got the job as a side thing because she needed the money, and here's the lieutenant who works for the King of Evil, and he ends up falling in love with her, and you're just seeing the antics throughout the entire thing, and they wrapped it up nicely. And if you're looking for more panels that's just really comedy, this is very comedy, very light on the actual romantic side. And last I got is Detroit Become Human Tokyo Stories Volume 1. This was pretty good. It was a very fast read. Now, I've never played the video game Detroit Become Human, but this actually takes place in Tokyo instead, so it's not, that's the only way it's really connected to the video game, at least so far. Very interesting premise, gave me vibes of just like with Pluto, and in this society, you know, the Japanese and the robots, you know, they're actually getting along a lot better than the Americans do with their robots. So there we have it. Let's go ahead and check out last, which is smaller publishers, which I got one, and I have a review for this, so you know, we can end on this note here, but that is Trigun Deluxe. Now, this is a statement. When you have this thing is gigantic. I mean, look at this compared to our lovely little Tokyo Human here. You're like, oh, what is that? But no, So this was phenomenal. I didn't have any other deluxe things from Dark Horse, so I gotta say, wow. I thought this was thoroughly well done. And again, I have a review video, which I'll go ahead and you can see more details of what I gotta say about Trigun. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm very grateful that Dark Horse is reprinting the series and giving this beautiful deluxe format. All right, so there you have it. That's everything that I picked up for the month of September, and a special thanks to Yen Press for sending so many titles that I got to thoroughly review each one in that other video that you can check out. And with that, if you'd like to see more content like this, you've not done so already, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to the channel. According to my YouTube annex, only 28% of you that are gonna watch this video are actually subscribed, and it actually helps for publishers like Yen Press and others to want to send us things when they see that subscriber count go up, not down. So if you could do me a small teensy favor, if you found any value from this, would you be willing to subscribe to the channel? That helps others know about this community, as well as it gives an opportunity for publishers to be like, huh, hey, maybe we should send them some stuff. They're ones that'll go ahead and give us a good video. So if you've liked any of my content, that's the best thing you can do to help support the channel. I'm not asking for money. I haven't turned any of the super sticker things on, even though maybe I should. But instead of asking for money, I'm just asking, would you consider subscribing to the channel itself? That's the best way you can support us. It helps fund so I can get more manga, and then also it's great when publishers are willing to send us stuff and not having to buy those on my own. So thank you so much for being a part of this community. I'll see you on the next one.